This is your live recording for your project essay, Developing Theme Through a Novel. So this assignment specifically focuses on the novel Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, and your instructions are to write a 500-word essay exploring how one of the themes in Things Fall Apart is developed through literary devices like characterization or imagery, symbol, irony, other literary devices that you want to go through. So write your first draft, reread, revise, and then turn in a second draft is what I'm going to ask you to do here. So some themes to consider writing about. We have the masculine versus the feminine. This is shown through Okonkwo and kind of his hatred of his father Onoka, and this question of feminine power through we have kind of the oracle character and that sort of thing. Fate versus free will. How much of what happens is just kind of Okonkwo's fate because he's not the greatest guy, or how much of that is him making really poor choices. The question of family, particularly with fathers and sons. We have Okonkwo and his hatred for his father, and then that hatred is kind of carried on through his son, Nuoye. But also there is the question to consider of Ikamafuna and how he interacts with Nuoye and Okonkwo himself. We have the concept of tradition and change. This is mostly prevalent through the whole concept of colonization and the creation of the church and that sort of thing. Which brings us to colonization, which is a major theme here, is how these white folks come into Umofia and really start to change things and colonize. Outcasts, which is something that Obi Erica discusses a lot, is this concept of what does it mean to be an outcast and why do certain traditions include that? And then finally violence, which is really prevalent throughout this whole novel, particularly in Okonkwo, who just thinks violence is the height of manliness even when it gets him into trouble. So here are a couple thesis examples. These are the thesis examples from your lesson, but I do just want to go over them. So this example is just saying the theme of tradition versus change is developed through the characterization of Okonkwo. And this one, the second one, talks about, the missionaries and the colonists don't appear to the second half, but with the imagery that's used, it kind of sets it up for that story or that theme. So this is a basic outline of what I'm looking for. You should have 5 paragraphs, including an introduction, your 3 bodies, and the concluding paragraph. In your introduction, I think it's always helpful to include the context of the story, maybe some background information about Chinua Achebe and that sort of thing. Always state the title and the author in your intro paragraph and your concluding paragraph. That's something your essay has to have. If it doesn't have it, I'm sending it back to you. And then for your body paragraphs, you'll want to have your topic sentence, evidence, which should be a quote from the book, an explanation of your evidence, tie it back to your thesis, and repeat that process. So evidence, explanation, tie back to thesis, evidence, explanation, tie back to thesis. And that's what I'm going to be looking for in each of those body paragraphs. So each body paragraph should have 2 quotes from the text that back up your assertions that you're making. I have some do's and don'ts here for you. Do reread for clarity. I particularly recommend you reread out loud. That's going to help you catch anything that's awkward or just kind of unsettling in your writing. Don't assume that one draft is perfection. Again, even just for something as small as not putting the title and the author in the intro paragraph, I'm going to send it back to you. So don't assume that one draft is going to be the end-all be-all. Do explain and give relevant evidence. You can include the best quotes in the world, but if you don't take time to explain it and how it relates to what your essay is talking about, your quotes are useless. Please don't use personal pronouns, and don't talk about your essay as an entity. There should be no, in my essay today, I'm going to. Don't do it. I have an example that we're going to go over that's going to show you how to start an essay, and you will note that there are no personal pronouns, and there is no referring to your essay as an entity. Do use direct quotes. Use direct quotes from the text. Use your quotation marks, and I'll be looking for those. And again, you should have 2 of those in each body paragraph. So here's an example of an introductory paragraph for you. Notice my indentations are a little goofy, but that's PowerPoint for you. So I start with saying, change is inevitable, but that doesn't stop Okonkwo from fighting it. In Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, the theme of tradition versus change is demonstrated in the character Okonkwo as he fights against his banishment, battles against the missionaries, and his tribe's acceptance of them. So this introductory paragraph really covers everything I need in my introduction. I've got background information, I've got the title, I've got the author, I've got the theme that I'm going to talk about, and how I'm demonstrating it. So I'll have one paragraph talk about his banishment, a second paragraph talk about his battles against the missionaries, and a third paragraph talking about the Igbo accepting the missionaries. And that's how I've laid out my whole essay in just one little paragraph. So that's what I've got for you. If you have any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you in class.